Michigan State dealt a small signing day blow. Is it enough to dampen our spirits, though, on this whole offseason? And then we get into your basketball mailbag questions. And Jeremy Dewar of Spartans Illustrated joins to talk that hockey. Let's go.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of Locked On Spartans is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On Spartans, your team in green and white 5 days a week. Please rate, review, subscribe, comment below on YouTube. If you're listening on the podcast, hey, go ahead and smash that 5-star rating button if you don't mind. Now let's get in to the show here. Of course, today, Wednesday, was the second signing day, is what we've been calling it here in Locked On Spartans. This was the formal signing day because early signing day already happened. This is, we'll call it what it is, the boring signing day, because 90% of the stuff wraps up in December. But there's some good news. There's some bad news with Michigan State. We'll get to the good news right now, the news that we already knew going into signing day. 3-star wide receiver Jaylan Brown, he signs to Michigan State. Kicker out of Idaho, Martin Connington, he signs. And then Mikeshun Beeler, the interior defensive line from Chicago, he commits. Now, a little bit about each of these kids. Jaylan Brown is actually now rated an 89 per 24/7 Sports. Still a 3-star, but that is at the upper end of a 3-star status on 24/7 Sports. And they actually are so high in this kid now that he is the 3rd highest ranked player in Michigan State's class. So, hey, only Power 5 offer, or Power 4 offer, I guess is what we'll call it, not too long ago. This was a late riser, a guy that Jonathan Smith sought out. Lucky enough to get him for this class because he is a fine player. Martin Connington, number 7 ranked kicker in the class. This guy has an iron leg. He's been seen on video, on the social media, kicking it from 64 yards. So big leg. There's a reason he's a top 10 kicker in the nation. And Mikeshun Beeler, 6'3" defensive tackle out of Chicago. We've been talking up and down about him. Very recent commit. He committed to Michigan State on Monday. Fits a very, very high position of need for Michigan State. Now let's get to the bad news of the day. And this is news that we were already alluding to earlier in the week as we built up to signing day. It is Portage Northern linebacker Jadyn Walker. Despite being verbally committed to Michigan State for quite some time now, he flipped and signed with USC. Now, before we go on a big rant of, there's no more loyalty in the world and kids these days just flip all the time, we're going to add some context here in case you forgot about Jayden Walker. He didn't commit to Jonathan Smith's staff. He committed to Mel Tucker's staff less than 12 hours before the whole saga broke on that midnight story by ESPN and USA Today. So very bizarre recruiting cycle for Jayden Walker. Yes, I mean, this is still a lost recruiting battle. Michigan State still fought to keep Jadyn in the class. But ultimately, Lincoln Riley over there in sunny California, they won out after running really a full court press on the Portage prospect here. So that was the one bit of bad news here for Michigan State, is that, yeah, Jayden Walker, you lost him. But like we've talked about on yesterday's show, you already do have a linebacker in this class, a really good one, Brady Pretzlaff. He's an upper 3-star, or if you look at On3, another recruiting site, a bona fide 4-star and a top 10 linebacker in the class. So that's where things stand right now. And also another player that we were talking about, Dimitry Nicolas, verbal commit to Auburn. He visited Michigan State. Things were looking really good for this interior defensive lineman to join the Spartans 2024 class. He ultimately signs with Maryland. Now, what I've been hearing is that in the end, he was not a take for Michigan State. And I understand that that could just sound like sour grapes, salty people saying, well, we didn't want him anyway. But there's maybe a reason that he wasn't going to go to Auburn. There looks like there is a reason he wasn't going to be coming to Michigan State. Now, whether that's something, and I'm just, hypothesizing now, is that academics? Is it something else? Who's to say? But I think that there's a reason he committed to Maryland, a place that he never visited, ever, because maybe, he was running out of options here late in the game, and perhaps Michigan State said, thanks, but no thanks. Good luck finding another Power 5 school. Luckily enough for him, he did, and the defensive coordinator of Maryland, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on his name right now, he's from South Florida, just like Dimitry Nicolas, so maybe there's the connection already there. But yes, there is reason to believe that, maybe the Michigan State Dimitry Nicolas marriage just wasn't as clear as we all thought it was. So that is all the signing day drama. We'll get to a little bit of the preferred walk-ons here later on. But this is, again, despite, the heartbreak is what we'll call about Jayden Walker not getting Dimitry Nicolas, this is largely a successful offseason. And maybe this is why I'm not just throwing things in the studio and just being so angry. Or maybe it's because all of my ire is just dedicated to basketball right now. But no, on a serious note, all things considered, it has been a largely successful offseason for Jonathan Smith here, who now has the 37th ranked class in the 24/7 Sports Composite with 20 kids in the class. That is outstanding for the offseason because I'm sure we all remember he takes the job late November, early December. There are just about enough kids in this class that could squeeze into an elevator. There were single-digit kids in this class, and you're wondering, you got to worry about filling it with talent, but also just numbers at this point. Again, 20 kids. Not only that, the players that you took out of the portal from Aiden Childs to Wayne Matthews, Tanner Miller, there is no shortage of instant impact guys from the portal, but also, too, the guys you kept from leaving in the portal. Guys like Derek Harmon that you brought back, Jaron Glover, Ethan Boyd, Brandon Baldwin, your interior offensive lineman, and Gino Vandemark. You kept guys from entering. So yes, the Jayden Walker news, it kind of stings a little bit, but we're still praising the solid offseason that Jonathan Smith's staff has had. Now, this was a comment left on YouTube a few days ago. This was after our Junior Day recap episode by Chosen2030 is their username. Recruiting is just so nuts. We are now praising Coach Smith for what we criticized Coach D'Antonio for, regional instead of national recruiting. Now, what he means by that is that for Junior Day over last weekend, tons of Michigan kids, handful of Ohio kids, and we were saying, hey, that's good for Jonathan Smith to establish those relationships. Anyway, back to the comment. You can't forget about the Midwest, but if you focus too much on it, you'll end up with a bunch of 3-stars with potential like Coach D did. I'm not sure that is how you build a top 15 program in the new Big Ten, but I guess we shall see. That is some great points by Chosen2030, because we've done two things. We've talked out of both sides of our mouth saying, hey, you have to recruit regional, okay? But we've also said that D'Antonio kind of really hurt himself down the end by only recruiting regional. We really lauded Mel Tucker for recruiting national, going for 4-stars, going for 5-stars. But that's also kind of what sunk him too. Let me explain here. We're going to elaborate on this because there is a middle ground when it comes to regional recruiting. And two things can be true when it comes to recruiting inside that 5-hour driving radius. The first thing, it is tough to build a consistent winner with just only regional 3-stars. I just look at the later years of the D'Antonio era. Also, statement number 2, it is still important to make regional recruiting a priority. Because, guys, what did Mel Tucker not have a lot of in recruiting? It was plan B, guys. It was fun when every 5-star and 4-star is coming here to get a picture with a Ferrari and a goat. But when they're going to other schools and committing to other schools, you're looking around your recruiting board and you're thinking, where are those kids that are rated 400 to 800? The local kids, the kids that are in our own backyard. They never prioritize them during the recruiting trail. And that is why, in 2023, you signed 16 kids in your class. Not great. And also, hey, they went into the season with Mel Tucker still employed. We're still talking about the Mel Tucker era. Went into this season, which is, 10 kids verbally committed to Michigan State? That can't happen. You do need bodies in this class. So yes, recruiting will always be national, especially with Jonathan Smith, a West Coast guy, a guy with most of his ties in the western part of the country. But naturally, your best bets are those regional kids. Regions that MSU has neglected or struck out in, just like Michigan, Ohio. And what drives me absolutely crazy about Ohio in the Mel Tucker era is that he only got 4 kids from the state of Ohio. Out of 3 households, 2 of the kids are the Lenieski twins, the offensive linemen Mercer and Charlton, who are in this 2024 class. Austin Clay is also from Ohio, but that is a Jonathan Smith pickup. In 2023, no Ohio kids. In 2022, no Ohio kids. And in 2021, the COVID class, that was AJ Kirk and Michael Gravely. Talent-rich Ohio. The state that goes up with like Florida, Georgia, Texas, as far as high school football talent goes, just neglected for the last few years. So this is where the plan B guys go. Or hey, even sometimes there are some really good plan A targets in all of this. So we're going to talk a little bit more about signing day, the preferred walk-ons here in a hot second. Just need to talk your ears off about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Happy Super Bowl Sunday to all those who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Now, if you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. If you are looking to get any sweat on for Sunday, and if you're looking to kill time at work tomorrow, just take 10 minutes, peruse all the props going on at FanDuel. They have everything from correct score, which, by the way, I have one. That's Chiefs 31, 49ers 21, $1 to win $360. Like, there are some lawn odds out there for you to enjoy at FanDuel. And not only can you bet on who will win the Super Bowl, but you can bet on which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. New customers, join today and you will get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Now let's get back into the mix here with signing day, because there was a good handful of preferred walk-ons. I got 6 written down in front of me. We'll go through them really fast. Number 1, Kyler Brunnan, 6'4", 275-pound, former Army commit, offensive lineman from Traverse City. Stone Chaney. Now, this is a guy that we talked about a little bit ago. Visited Michigan State, 6'5", 250-pound edge rusher from Detroit Catholic Central. He had offers from Army, Navy, CMU, Toledo, so some group of 5 offers. He instead takes a preferred walk-on spot at Michigan State. Charlie Baker, tight end, homegrown kid from East Lansing, also had a scholarship to play at Valparaiso. Turned that down to be a preferred walk-on at Michigan State and fulfill his dream of being a Spartan. Really cool story. You can go read more on that at SpartansIllustrated.com. Mason Nichols, 6'2", 265-pounder from Dow High School in Midland. Ferris State, Michigan Tech, Saginaw Valley, they all offered this defensive tackle too, but turned down the Division II offers to come to Michigan State. Easton Boggs, which, God, how did this kid not stick on a baseball field? Easton Boggs, that's a great baseball name, but it's also a good tight end name too. 6'6", 225-pound tight end from Lenawee Christian in Adrian. Hope I'm saying that right. Lenawee Christian. Anyway, from Adrian, Michigan. And then the last kid coming from outside the state of Michigan, Carter Enyard. He is a linebacker from Missouri, a former Kent State commit, the 218th ranked linebacker in the country. So plenty of kids, group of 5 offers, Division II offers, turning those down to come play at Michigan State as preferred walk-ons. Now let's flip to basketball here for a second. We'll get to hockey here in a minute, because there's a big series against Michigan coming up this weekend, and I know that you hockey fans need some more hockey content in your lives. But first, just going to clean up everything from basketball. LockedOnSpartans@gmail.com. And I know yesterday we started the show with saying that the fan base is largely apathetic now about basketball because it's been 4 years of this nonsense. But for the fans that are still hanging around, no shortage of passion. That is as full as my inbox has been on a Wednesday morning. David's going to bat first here. Again, LockedOnSpartans@gmail.com. His subject line for the email was just, why? And he goes on to write, all I can say is why. I know you don't like bashing the players because they're kids, but starters likely make more money than I do, and they are older than the Pistons' starting 5. That's accurate on both counts there. I am done. This loss broke me. I literally booked my bachelor party in Arizona for the Final Four because I bought the hype. What a disaster this team is, and so mentally soft. I think that's what makes it so disappointing. This isn't what it means to be a Spartan dog, mentally weak, aside from Tyson. Tyson is an absolute dog and deserves better. One day we're going to have an episode singing Tyson Walker's praises, but yeah, you're spot on with almost pretty much everything you said here. That is maybe what hurts even a little more, on top of just seeing loss after seeing a senior point guard not playing up to his potential, is like what hurts is that we were promised a top 10 season, And we kind of feel a little stupid for buying into the hype. Like, I imagine this is how people that are scammed feel when they realize that the Nigerian prince that emailed them, in fact, doesn't need $40,000 cash wired to them to unlock some lottery winnings. Like, there is a little bit of egg on our face here. I'm speaking personally. I think it seems like that David also kind of feels that way, is that kind of just feel dumb for believing, right? Because we are so far from what we thought that this season could be. Now, one thing kind of on top of that, just like the disaster of a team mentally soft, I keep hearing and reading, whether it be on Twitter, message boards, or just conversations with people, that Izzo can't coach the way he wants to coach. And even Izzo has kind of alluded to that too, is like, oh, I can't coach the way I want to coach. Which I don't really fully understand what that means. It's not like he was beating his players over the head with folding chairs back in the day, and now he can't do that. But I think here's the issue with this team. It's not that he can't coach the way he wants to coach. There's not the player that wants to be coached the way that he wants to coach. Like, I get that maybe we're thinking like, oh, get into their faces, yada, yada. I just don't think that coaching works anymore. There is no one in that huddle that's willing to fight each other in the huddle. And I'm not saying that you should be throwing a melee every single time things go wrong. But, hey, every once in a while, there was some fire in the huddles, whether it be the Brandon Dawson era, the Cassius Winston era. You can go back the last 2 decades of Michigan State basketball. I just don't see any of that fire from anyone in the huddle. And this goes to the conversation we were having with Connor yesterday, is that maybe that's just because it's how they were bred. It's 4 years now of this, of mediocrity. No one on that team or in that huddle really has been part of a championship-winning team. No one, quite literally, knows what it takes to be a championship team, to have that dog in them, we'll call it. So I don't know if it's, that Izzo just can't coach the way he wants to because, there's too many lawyers around and people are too soft and I'll get sued. Like, I think it's just that no one really responds to what it takes to be a full-fledged winner anymore, except for, of course, Tyson Walker. But again, it's not like he's a super vocal guy. Oh, this is so fun. Woohoo. Ray wrote in a few questions. We're going to hit on one of these right now. Once Hogard, Malik, Mahdi, and the walk-ons graduate or leave for pro ball, will we see a renewal of the program and its competitiveness? Some of these youngins are pretty damn good. I think we still can see a return to competitiveness. I know that a lot of people say Izzo's washed or we've completely lost all of our mojo that we've ever had as a program. But you can still find OKGs in the portal, our kind of guys that were the foundation of Michigan State basketball. You have one on the team right now that you found through the portal in Tyson Walker, the only guy that plays with a pulse night in and night out. But you can find OKGs in the portal because I still like to think this. I like to think that I'm correct when I say this, but Michigan State, the name, still means a lot in college basketball. So if you are a transfer, this isn't like you're going to some random school, but you're going to get immediate playing time. And yeah, it's cool if you win, but who cares? No. You understand the assignment when you come to Michigan State. You are here to win basketball. You seek out the pressure, which I'm not sure that any of these kids that actually committed here out of high school were really all about, it turns out. So yes, I still think you can come down to being more competitive here in the future. And how fun is this? We get to talk about the future of Michigan State basketball when we're in the thick of a season. Woohoo! We're going to talk about hockey here in a quick second. First, need to talk your ear off about Gametime, the best ticketing app out there. And I love Gametime for a handful of reasons, guys. If you know me, I like saving some money. Gametime, no shortage of options on how to do so. During the week, if you know you're going to a concert, a comedy show, a sporting event, hey, just check out the flash deals in the days leading up to the game. Also, the last-minute deals because, well, we all like procrastinating every once in a while, some more than others. But if you're just walking up to the stadium, the arena, the concert hall, check out their last-minute ticket deals. They are second to none in the ticketing game. So if that wasn't enough ways to save money, try this. If you're in Vegas, hey, you're really going to appreciate this right now, but take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Right now, all Gametime users will get $100 off a big game ticket with code VEGAS100. Terms apply, or just download the Gametime app and use code VEGAS100 for $100 off a big game ticket. Or if you're like me, you're not anywhere near Vegas and you just want to use this on something else, well, Hey, we're going to take care of you here. Use code Locked On, all one word, Locked On, for $20 off your first purchase. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Now on to happy sports talk. That's right. The Michigan State hockey team still in the top 10, and also the Big Ten could be well within their grasp. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit, but first, we got some business to talk about. Jeremy Dewar of Spartans Illustrated. It's going to be those pesky, icy Wolverines again this weekend. Friday over in Ann Arbor. Saturday, the duel in the D. Jeremy, interesting series with these guys last time. We got pasted at home in East Lansing and then went to Ann Arbor where it looked like, oh boy, more of the same. And then we wiped the floor with them over at Yost. What on earth should we be expecting for this series this weekend, Jeremy?
Yeah, it should be easy to pick what's going to happen, right?
Right.
I expect a lot of goals. I think that's
okay.
I think that was consistent both times Friday, so at least between the two teams. Yeah, man, it's hard to pigeonhole what this is going to be. I thought the late Saturday comeback, obviously scoring 6 straight like that was not what I expected, but at the same time,
nice.
I knew the Michigan goaltending is probably the weakest part of these two teams matchups, and it kind of finally showed through. But
Gotcha.
Friday night was the second weakest, which is MSU defense. So, again, a lot of goals. That's about all I expect is just some good offensive display.
What's going to make you happy on Sunday? Is it just as simple as clean sweep, win both games? Is it, okay, I'll be happy if they split this one? Yes, it's at Ann Arbor. It's a lot to ask them to win there twice, despite how good Michigan State is compared to Michigan this season. The duel in the D, they could win that one, obviously, but that's a trophy they have not won since 2016. So, Jeremy, is it like a split and it won't be the end of the world, or is it sweep or bust here this weekend for you?
I mean, the logical answer is I'm okay with a split. I'm okay with a split logically.
Okay.
I would prefer to win in Detroit because they really ripped our heart out last year, winning on a literal last-second shot in Detroit. Yeah. So I would love to have a lot of MSU fans and have that environment, but go the other way this time. But no, the real answer is I won't be happy unless we beat them 12-0 both nights.
Okay.
I hate this program so much and everything that it represents. The only way to make me happy is to make me feel like they might cancel the program Sunday. That's
there we go.
So yeah, that's the real answer. But no, I think a split, you're probably fine depending on Wisconsin's results. And as far as the Big Ten standings go, you always have the fact that you end the season playing Wisconsin. So even if you lose the lead heading into that weekend, you control your own destiny. So not really thinking too much about that ahead of time. I would just, love a series sweep because I would love to just get 3-1. If you go 3-1 against them this year, it gets the Naradu versus Nightingale matchup even, and I would like to do that. So.
That's got a nice ring to it. I don't hate that whatsoever. I'm glad you brought up the Big Ten standings. I'm sure people that are following this hockey team ardently, they're well aware of what's going on. But for those that are looking from the outside, here is the situation. Michigan State is up 5 points on Wisconsin. There's 6 games left for our Spartans. There's 8 more for Wisconsin. So 5-point lead for the Spartans, 2 games in hand. Really isn't another team that's a factor in this Big Ten chase. So it's, of course, the 2 games against Michigan, then a bye week for our Spartans, then Ohio State at home for a 2-game series, and then, just like Jeremy said, at Wisconsin for 2 games. 5 points. Wisconsin has 2 games in hand. Jeremy, point blank confidence level, scale of 1 to 10. How should Spartans be feeling that they will win their first regular season Big Ten title in hockey?
I will not regret this at all, but
I know. I'm putting you on the spot. This is a bad spot. 8? Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the thing, and I will preface this with the reason I can say an 8 is I am an absolute hater. I have no idea how Wisconsin has done what they've done. It's amazing. They're under a first-year coach, and they've gone from the basement to one of the most consistent teams in college hockey. But it's just their style of play and just this fast rise for them. I've always felt like teams on the second time through are going to get them is kind of how I've felt, which we've seen a little bit with their series against Minnesota. Obviously we swept them the first time, so that's not, really for us, but also that result too. For me, I I think we could sweep Ohio State, and you go into Wisconsin with at least probably a 3-ish point lead, and you get a split and you win the title. So, like, I feel pretty confident in it. Sunday morning, I could feel very, very different coming off of this weekend.
Right.
But right now, like, between where MSU's at, where the points are at, and what I think of Wisconsin, I feel pretty good.
Here's a ridiculous sounding question. But like, how are you feeling about Michigan State's season as of late? Obviously, they're doing fantastic. They're top 10 in pairwise. They're 18-7-3 overall. But in their last 6 games, 3-3. Which, hey, in years past, you would do anything for a 3-3 stretch over 6 games. But does it seem like there's a lull at all, or is that just a factor of, well, Michigan State was playing some pretty good teams in the last 6 games? It's really nothing too much to worry about here.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of the schedule evening out.
Okay.
Like, I mean, you don't play Michigan the first half of the season. And regardless of Michigan State's buildup of their program, like, Minnesota is still a program that even a better Michigan State team is Minnesota. For some reason, it's just a matchup. Like, it's like playing Boo Booey for me. Like, I don't ever think we're going to.
Yeah.
Like, it's just until we start sweeping Minnesota consistently, I'm just going to always assume that's a season split if we're lucky.
Sure.
So I think a little bit is the schedule. I think, honestly, the weird part was you come off the World Junior Championship, and it's not even your team playing, but you have 2 guys win the gold medal and be maybe 2 of the top players at the World Juniors. Yeah. And it's almost like you feel like your team's hotter than it is because you have those 2 guys. So I think that that kind of maybe inflated a little bit too, what the second half has looked like. I don't think they've played outside of that Friday night loss to Michigan. I don't think they've played poorly in any game. The problems that they've had in their losses are the problems that were still there when they were winning. It's just, some nights you run into a hot goalie. Like, it's just that Notre Dame loss. I mean, honestly, like, play that game out 10 times, they win 8 of them. Like, it was just a night where the goalie was absolutely hot. So yeah, I'm not super concerned right now, but you're starting to get to the part of the season where one night where you just take too many penalties and that's the end of your season. So I'm starting to get a little worried that that's never going to get fixed, but.
Sure. Speaking of white-hot goalies, we got one here in East Lansing, Trey Augustine, as the freshman. He's just been special this season. He's coming off a 30-save shutout at Notre Dame, and no Big Ten games for him with less than 27 saves. Now, the Duel in the D will be on Big Ten Network. They're not going to have it on QVC3 or some absurd Uruguayan channel that only 3 people can access in the world. Like, so us Spartan fans that don't pay for Big Ten Plus can actually watch this game Saturday. So Trey Augustine, he's 1 star. Is he the brightest star that us Spartan fans can watch on Saturday, or is there even another 1 or 2 that's really been hot as of late that Spartan fans can just gravitate to and sound like the smartest guy in the room after watching with other Spartan fans?
I mean, the name coming out of World Juniors was Isaac Howard. Yeah. He led the USA in goals scored. He's had not as much of a hot start back with MSU as I was hoping for. Okay. I think he's played well. It's just you haven't had the goal scoring that he was showing at World Junior. So I think that's one to watch. But honestly, the guy who's really coming into his own is freshman defenseman Artem Levshinov. He's cleaned up a lot of mistakes that were there in the first half of the year, and his offensive game is just taking off right now. Like, I think it was the Ohio State series, he had a 5-point night, like, as a defenseman, which is just insane.
Sure.
Just been all over it. And like I said, he's really cleaned up some of the miscues he was having. Like, he's hit a stride right now that I didn't really know if he was going to get to this year. But he's showing he's going to be a top 3 pick for a good reason. And it's not just that it's a little bit of a down draft year. Maybe he deserves to be up there also.
Bang. Anything else that you want to throw out to Spartan Nation before we let you go enjoy the rest of your day and get ready for this thriller of a weekend coming up?
Man, I don't even know. I haven't even checked the basketball times to know, like, what the doubleheader looks like Saturday. But 8:30 late start. Yeah. If you're in Detroit, like, I'm not the biggest LCA fan. I am an absolute Joe Louis originalist, but at the same time, like, watching that game on TV last year, you could literally feel how insane that atmosphere was. Like,
you're right.
And this was with 2 teams that Michigan State wasn't quite where they're at now, and I think that it might even be a better atmosphere this Saturday. So if you're in the Detroit area, I think last I looked, there's still tickets available. So get down there, 8:30. Some of us on this show, I think, worked out how to tailgate in Detroit this season and prep themselves for this. So
who's to say? Who's to say?
Yeah, absolutely. So I say get down. I mean, it's a great chance to see them. Obviously, it is on TV at least, so you don't have to. If you are not in the area, you can actually watch. But
exactly.
Yeah, man, get it in now, so you don't have to listen to student-run broadcasts from like Ohio State's awful arena in a couple weeks. So.
Get down to Detroit at 2. Watch the basketball game at your favorite watering hole in Detroit. Just get nice and hydrated. Get yourself into LCA and bring the ruckus for the Icy Spartans here. That's Jeremy Dewar. Does great work at Spartans Illustrated, all things hockey. Jeremy, really do appreciate you, all the listeners, all the viewers. You guys are truly the best. Love every single one of you. Until tomorrow, when we talk to Greg Sheeman of Locked On Big Ten, we'll see you then. Love you all. Go Green.